Hello team, welcome back to another Line Warcast. This is your map today. We're going to switch things up from the tournament games that we've been uploading. We're doing a 5-person free-for-all. In blue is Deimos, in red is Wicca, in orange is Thick Judge Judy, Zeno is teal, and someone said that my nickname sucks, is pink. We got Wicca in the top left, Zeno in the bottom left, Deimos in the bottom right a little bit. Nicknames in the central location. Thick Judge Judy. Thick Judge Judy. I can't say that quick. In orange in the top right. And that's our 5 players. So nickname gets the central location, 2 cities right away, and 3 barracks with an airport. We're running on 2 times speed, town and port for Wicca, with a factory and a barracks. Bottom left, a good combined arms army from Xeno with the airport, 3 barracks, and 2 factories. And Deimos has the town and went for this cross spawn pick, so 2 barracks and a factory on the left hand side, some industry and an airport on this little island in the bottom. Second industry now for blue with the port, so some more eco. Nickname in the central location is going to get into a fight probably pretty quickly with Judy here in this little choke. Judy's going for some airports and more factories to try to break out of that position potentially. And an airport now for Wicca, who's going to quickly find Zeno in the bottom left. Blue definitely has a landing on this part of the map, and it's not going to get shut down anytime soon, so there could be some more production for blue that is set up there in the future. It'll be a question of where Nickname decides to send these helicopters, potentially at Blue's base or to help out in the mountains here. Nickname's dug in though, so this will take a while for Orange to get through, who's going for some transport planes and some commando drops. Not sure where exactly those are going to go at this point, but we'll watch. Interceptors for Xeno. And some power plants and refineries, or power plants and industry now for Wicca in the top left, who's going to also be a little bit boxed in, and at some point need to fight both Xeno and probably Nickname. Helicopters for Nickname are going to be super effective until Judy has some SAMs out of these factories. There's bombers on the way for Orange that'll be pretty good offensively. This is Nickname's refinery. Blue's off to a good start. Not really being at all contested by Nickname as of yet, and is about to start attacking Xeno, which will be good for red, potentially. And naturally, this choke point, both players are going to dig in on either side of it. Nickname, I'm sure, is happy too, because there's already a fight going on here between Nickname and Judy. He's got the bombers shelling away, or bombing all these buildings. Whenever the buildings are damaged, it costs income for Pink to repair them. Nickname's got a dock going on in this like rightmost waterway, which is actually connected to the rest of the map in the south. And now we got Xeno and Deimos going at it. A second factory now for Blue in another town, which is a good call. There's 3 factories for Teal though, so over time Teal should be able to gather enough of a force to push that back. Helicopters for Nickname are attacking the Blue refinery, which does suck for Blue, since it gets taken out. And we'll see how Blue responds to this, whether it's going to be missile ships or SAMs or something. There's a factory on the way, so it might be SAMs. And Wicca is starting to head across this little channel towards Nickname. Thick Judge Judy going for some eco action on the top right in that town. Blue's town is going to get destroyed by those 3 helicopters. Huge defensive line for both players. Ultimately, this is going to have to heat up at some point. And towns for Xeno as well. Nickname's got the first boats done. They are transport boats. Probably going to start sending across some infantry towards Orange, who now has 3 bombers with a 4th on the way. Nickname does take out Blue's town. That's unfortunate for Deimos. Certainly sets them back a little bit, because that was also a port attached to that town. And second airport for Blue. I might be saying the names wrong, by the way, and I apologize to maybe Deimos or Deimos. Not sure. Helicopters and interceptors for Nickname are going to have a field day until there's any SAMs that are set up. The first one's on the way for Blue, and Nickname's got the 2 transport boats that are going to start heading across pretty soon. There is a gas very close to the shore, so Nickname might be able to snipe this. Orange is going to start pushing through the mountain range in earnest, which makes sense because at some point that had to happen for Orange to break out. Wicca's getting their first refinery set up. There's some bombers on that airport. And Xeno thinks that this is the time to go into, like, this defensive line, which kind of makes sense. I think if you're Teal, you're probably a little bit afraid of Blue setting up a ton of production here. And this situation would get worse over time, potentially. Things are thinning out for Teal, so Blue's going to be able to counter-push pretty soon. And this massive blob of artillery, SAM, and infantry for Orange, slowly moving towards Nickname, who's going to probably back up pretty soon, puts down 2 factories to deal with this impending army. But a great drop from Nickname that's going to take out at least the refinery, maybe even the town, because there's no bombers at home for Orange to deal with this quite yet. And Blue continues to expand on the bottom right, while holding off this attack. Teal and Red seem to be pretty happy just to hang out here. Nickname's also got the 3rd defensive line in here at this junction. Nickname's got 3 interceptors. We'll see if those can deal with any bombers that decide to show up and attack Pink's base. Town does go down, as did the refinery. Kind of, that's pretty expected. There's a good number of SAMs in this blob that'll be hard for Nickname to actually attack the blob directly with planes. And now Wicca's got the bombers going against Nickname. They might be able to find a factory up here. And the defensive lines are pretty close to each other. And we'll have to watch for when that dissolves and they both, like, all players start attacking each other. Still pretty static in the bottom left. A little bit of a wash. Nickname still has 2 transport boats, so if there's some infantry that can come down here to get across, Nickname might be able to get a beachhead going. It's, of course, this is a big problem right now. There's 2 cruisers for Pink that when they get to this choke, they're going to be able to at least distract the reinforcements. We'll see if Orange's bombers have success destroying these cruisers. And Nickname's got 3 helicopters going across. Still relatively static on the left-hand side of the map, and if we zoom out in the tactical mode, we can see Nickname's got a lot of the map. But Blue does as well. And this is going to be a very good push. There's a full defensive line of artillery here for Pink, though. So I'm not sure if Orange is going to be able to totally win the game, or, like, rather knock out this portion of Nickname's base. Because this is a pretty big wall with all that artillery. All the players are just continuing to get some eco and building up. Blue hasn't retaken this town and port yet, which makes a lot of sense. It's pretty hard to defend. And here comes the big moment for Orange, who needs to be able to break through this thing to get out of the get out of the containment in the top right. I'm trying to use the free camera, but I'm always zoomed in too much. But that's a lot of artillery for Orange. Or zoomed in too much, rather, is what I mean. Airstrip now for Nickname on the far right side to deal with some of these bombers and provide cover for whatever units end up getting across. And Nickname continues to hold this off and probably will be fine. And that's exactly what happened. Thick Judge Judy is going to retreat into this forest and mountain range. But this is tough if you're Orange, because you really need to get in, like, they want to break out of that position. Maybe if Red starts helping out somehow, there's a town or a city on the way for Wicca who has enough energy and is starting to build a rocket to deal with all the units at this junction. And that will certainly break the deadlock. Here come these bombers against 2 missile ships. Let's see if Nickname decides to send the interceptors in. And here they come. All linking up here. Very defensive. Both the missile boats go down for Pink, but that's not a huge deal. And the rocket is 1/3 of the way done for red. Still no action in the bottom left. And a decent number of planes for blue, who also is going for another dock, or rather a dock here in the back, which is very concealed. It's not like any player is going to be able to contest that anytime soon. There's no docks on the southern side for any other player. And a rocket for orange, which makes a lot of sense to probably land it right here and then begin pushing. Nickname still hasn't gone across yet, or rather hasn't tried to go across again. The rocket's almost done for red. Let's see where this thing goes. And Wick is trying to get some infantry across to land on Nickname's side of the map. The one factory in this standing army for Nickname might be enough. There's 2 SAMs dug in, so they'll do very well against the bombers, especially if the bombers go in one at a time. And no airstrip, or there actually is an airstrip for red, so that's good. I was going to say, there's a lot of bombers here, so there has to be an airstrip. SAMs are getting out of the defensive line, probably just because these artillery were trying to move through it, and now there's no more SAMs left. So the red bombers are going to be more effective, and Wick is starting to do a landing here. And behind this rocket, this might be a good breakout from red. This is pretty static. Launch pad is still being built for orange, who's putting down a dock. And here comes the rocket. And it must be to destroy that one factory to start the push. And Wicca destroys the launch pad immediately to get all that upkeep back. The amount of money they're spending on keeping that launch pad operational. City now for blue. That's a lot of econ. But you can't imagine that blue's going to want to push through this anytime soon. Just because it's a good defensive setup from teal. And everything's pretty stationary at this point. Really at the same land distribution that we saw earlier. And more transport boats for red, who is now across this channel. Might start capping some of this territory to take away the econ from Nickname. And bombers against a bunch of boats. And here come the interceptors for Nickname that are going to clean up and get at least 1, maybe 2 more bombers. Just 1, and the launch pad is done for Judge Judy, but it doesn't seem like there's enough money to actually make the rocket, since it requires 500 capital, which is quite a bit. Wicca digging in along the coast. And besides this eco and a potential city for Xeno, they're done with all the economic potential that they could get. And over time, they're going to get a little boxed in potentially because of how strong blue is going to be off of all this eco. Still no rocket yet, but orange does have 2 transport boats that can start going across. They're either going to... I wonder if orange lands here or if they're going to land where Wicca is. Because if these transport boats start landing here, that could be very good for orange. I'm not sure if landing over here is going to work out just because they'll end up indirectly fighting red. But of course they don't know that because of the fog of war. Nickname's got some commandos that are trying to go around and get into Judge Judy's base, which is very bad news for orange because Nickname's very good with the commandos like that. And all players kind of content with what they've got. Hence all these dig-ins. Okay, Wicca's starting to build an airstrip forward with a factory and a barracks. Orange does land on this peninsula. And still waiting for this orange rocket, but it's tough because it is a lot of money. Pretty good defensive lines from red. Wicca might actually get set up here. And here comes another launch pad to take out this army. Let's see if red pushes behind this. If they destroy this army, which they do, it kind of opens up a push. And if they know that orange is also landing at the same time, it's a very ideal time for red to push because Nickname has to send all the units over to the left. Here comes another push from Thick Judge Judy. And this time they have enough units, and Nickname doesn't have a ton in these defensive lines. If my zoom in, zoom out seem very quick and kind of disorientating, it's my apologies, but when we're on 2 times speed, the camera controls also move at 2 times speed. Okay, so the defense line's getting a little bit broken here for blue, but it's not a full committed push as of yet. A lot of artillery for teal. And no other rocket on the way for red or orange. Town goes down for Nickname. Great job by orange to take that out. I'm sure everyone in the game appreciates it, whether they can see it or not. And great defensive line from Nickname right between this barracks and this refinery. It's going to buy a ton of time. And over time, orange might actually destroy this one refinery, but I don't think Nickname needs both of these refineries because there is another one on the right-hand side, and Nickname's also secured this water one. The boats for Nickname are starting to attack some of these factories, but Nickname won't be able to see this launch pad as of yet. With these interceptors circling now, it'll become apparent. But they'll, of course, also see that there is no rocket on the way. We gotta check what's going on the bottom. A lot. Blues started transferring helicopters over here. There's no SAMs really for teal. I mean, there's 3 dug in and then these 2 hanging out, but this is a decent number of helicopters that could probably just push through that. Red's got a rocket 1/3 of the way done. The launch pad for Judy does get cleared up, but they've made good gains through here. And it's gonna be like 3 SAMs and a handful of artillery that get through. And maybe destroy an airport. As soon as these bombers lift off, the SAMs are going to engage them. But Nickname's got a handful of artillery themselves. So even if one airport goes down, which it does, one bomber will explode because it has nowhere to land. Potentially, except for this airstrip. Okay, that's what happens. Nickname sets the priority over there for the bombers. And this is looking really bad. If you're orange. Here comes another rocket. Wicca's gonna land it on this defensive line, maybe? And that's exactly what happens. And we'll see if red decides to push after this, and I think that's the play. A good bomber count from red. This position's super good. They're not gonna lose that. Judy falls back through this choke. And blue now has a bunch of missile boats because this is connected and it's been a while. So blue's got a good economy going. This is going to do a lot of damage to Nickname because Nickname's going to have to pull the boats back. So this is exactly what orange needed. The push for red isn't going all that well. If blue is also pushing at the same time instead of defending, it might be better for red because then this army for teal would be split. But blue, of course, doesn't know that. But good missile boat defense. Let's see how quick this turns into a navy battle between blue and pink. Because Nickname now knows that this is not safe and there's a navy somewhere out there, pardon me. Xeno's refilling all these defensive lines. They hold off this push from red. Still holding off this push from blue. I mean, essentially pushing back. But I think over time, blue's going to be okay. It's taking a long time for these artillery pieces to dig into the defensive line, so they're getting shot at while they try to do this. Both the helicopters and no SAMs. Blue is going to be okay. 2 more rockets on the way for red, one of which is 2/3 of the way done. And very slowly, Nickname is going to push through the mountains. And now has total air superiority because there's no planes for orange. So this is a tough position if you're Judy. Another rocket for Wicca. Gets even more this time. So both very effective trades. Xeno might get sandwiched at this point if blue decides to start pushing. And Nickname's struggling a little bit on the energy. This is why this other refinery goes down. There's actually power plants. But soon Nickname's going to be able to set up these two refineries, as Orange will likely be knocked out of the game. There's two barracks, or two factories, part of me, in the top right for Orange. We'll see if that's enough. Good striker count from Teal. Definitely going to do enough to make sure that this push from Red doesn't kill them right away, but there's still two more nukes, or two more rockets, pardon me, that are ready to go. Blue's advancing a little bit. And Red's still got a very good position here. This is now probably just too much for Pink. Very slowly, Nickname is going to overrun this position and get rid of this refinery, or this power plant and these factories. It's just going to be these last 5 factories for Orange, which is actually a decent amount, so it's not like Judy's going to be knocked out of the game immediately. But Wicca's got another rocket ready. Nickname's putting down this town. Orange is now knocked out of the game, so this top right position is going to go to Nickname as they cap it. And Pink's also got another city on the way. And so Nickname very clearly is going to have the most territory when it comes down to the number of units, or the number of territories that they have. Okay, Judy's DCing. I hope that this... Yeah, okay, the sound doesn't go the whole game. That's cool. Blue is landing here. There's enough units, and now there's 3 transport boats and maybe some more on the way. No, it's just 3 transport boats. But if the missile boats for Blue were to move forward, they might be able to cover this. The problem, of course, is going to be Nickname's army that's showing up, the Navy here. Because this is enough boats that they might actually just be able to destroy this refinery. There's no coastal artillery for Blue to defend it. And these rockets for Red continue to do so much damage. Alright, let's see how this fight goes. So Blue changes the direction that they're going to go for the landing. I think this is a really good play. They're going to destroy this town of Nickname, but they're going to lose their refinery for it. Which could be a big deal. Luckily for Blue, they already have a depot full of energy. And we can see the energy for Blue in the top right. It's not like it super matters. It's going to be the city. If the city falls, then it's a bigger problem. And it actually might. The best case scenario... I guess there's actually a bunch of infantry in this defensive line, so it's a little bit tougher because it's not a whole line of things shelling these boats. So over time, Pink's going to destroy Blue City. Blue is starting to push into Xeno's territory now. Indirectly helped out by all these rockets that Red is firing. And Nickname's going for 2 more docks, since the north of the map for Nickname is totally locked down at this point. They know that the fight with the Blue is the next thing they need to really deal with. A dock for Nickname and a launch pad in the north to deal with Red. And this is tough for Xeno because they have to deal with this Blue army and then also all these rockets, and Wicca's just making constant rockets here. There's another one already to go, and another one 1/3 of the way done. Blue holds onto the city for now. And can all these SAMs stop this rocket? They cannot. Certainly nearing the end for Teal in this game. Blue's push, there's enough units here that this is going to be very difficult to deal with at this point. And Nickname's starting to land on the far right. There's another depot down here for Blue. So this is a lot of energy for Deimos to work with. And Wicca's also in a relatively decent position. Red's problem is that they're going to have to fight Nickname pretty soon. And if Red knew that Blue was fighting here, they probably would want to go with this. Of course, that's if they saw the whole map. Because I think Nickname's in a little bit better position than Deimos. But blue is going to take most of the bottom left. And you can see they're starting to cap it and take all that econ away from Xeno. In teal. More reinforcements for blue. There's not as many units that are ready to go anymore, since they've transferred the bulk of them out of there. And a city for nickname in the top right. Another rocket ready for red. And now Wicca collapses on Xeno, with Deimos pushing from the south. And we're likely it's gonna turn into a 3-person free-for-all between pink, blue, and red. In the bottom right, top right, and top left of the map. Nickname does successfully land here with the help of all these interceptors and helicopters and boats. And here comes Nickname's first rocket. It's launched right at red. And probably a subsequent rocket will also be used against red. Here comes the big fight between some bombers and interceptors. Nickname's going for the push. And that's what bombers sound like on 2x speed. Horrifying. Another rocket's almost done for Wicca. Xeno's doing the best that they can by backing up and rebuilding production and digging in. That's exactly what to do. It's just too many units. And unfortunately kind of a 2v1 situation. And here comes another rocket. And Wicca's launching it at Nickname. Another good rocket for red, which resets this army for Nickname. There's enough SAMs over here for Wicca that it's going to be tough for the planes to do anything. And the city is still up for Deimos. The commandos are making good progress for Nickname on the far right. And now this is kind of interesting because this defensive line for red, blue doesn't want to fight this, which opens up Wicca to go for a push against Nickname directly. This city's going to be in a lot of trouble. There's a good number of helicopters, but there's still no real artillery surrounding that city to defend it from the Navy. And now, Wicca's kind of helping out Xeno a little bit. Because blue is trying to push through this defensive line from red. This is a lot of bombers for Nickname, who's on 3 airports, and all of this eco in the top right. Moment of truth. Can the helicopters save the city? If the pink cruisers are targeting the city, they can't. And I'm not sure if teal is in any position to push back against blue. But Nickname's getting more of a contain. Here's a rocket, actually, from Deimos, and it's going right towards Nickname. Maybe the docks. No, actually just the Navy. Unfortunately, blue doesn't have any boats to, like, follow this up with and start attacking all the docks. And another great rocket from red, who's building more eco. And we can actually check... Well, we can't really, because if I switch these player views, it's going to go all... Anyway, it doesn't matter. But it's got to be relatively even on the eco. Nickname probably has a little bit more, just because of this city. The 2-city difference. Another rocket's done for pink. Nickname's probably just waiting for a good target for it. There's 3 barracks in the north, and an aircraft carrier on the way for Nickname out of that northern dock. And this is a big deal because all these missile boats are now between this airport and any forward airstrips that red wants to move their planes to. which now don't exist because of this rocket from nickname. Rocket puts down another nickname on the launch pad. Nickname's got that next rocket on the way. But Wicca's still got 2 of their own. Pink is starting to go across towards Blue's main base. We'll see how effective these commandos can be. They're actually standing right beside the infantry here. I can't imagine this is correct. I mean, maybe it is. I have no idea. They're just hanging out. Because Blue can see those commandos, at least from the replay interface. And Nickname still has a lot of planes, and there's no real commandos. The barracks are starting to pay off in the north for Nickname, who has 2 aircraft carriers, and strikers are starting to land on them, which is going to allow Nickname to start hitting this city, which is, there's no real defense from strikers against the cities for Red, because there's no SAMs in the area. Factory and barracks for Nickname on the right hand side. It might actually get taken out from Blue. And Blue is going to start trying to break through this red defense line, but with 2 rockets, I think Wicca can just sit here and launch these all day to make sure that they're safe. Pretty good targeting. 2 of the tanks still live, but that's why there's bombers for Red to deal with it. And here comes another rock from Nickname. On the eco and the production, actually just the production really, for Wicca. And I think what is going to happen next is that Nickname might start pushing with all these boats. So Wicca destroys one of their own barracks to try to stop all of these units from Pink. But Nickname is not going to be stopped because these 3 barracks are going to filter in more units, and then Pink will start pushing to the left. The 3 strikers from the aircraft carrier are going to kill it. Kill the city, that is. There's a handful of interceptors for Red. Maybe they can take out the planes before they kill the city. I guess that's exactly what happens. But Red is definitely going to lose at least 1 town, possibly a second one, because these rockets, while they're on the way, they're not done yet. And here comes the southern push from all these boats for Nickname, but there's so many helicopters for Blue. I don't think it's going to be enough for Blue, though. There's 2 missile ships, and then the cruisers do enough. Now it's just interceptors here for Blue, who do take out the factory and the barracks from Nickname, but lose a town and a port. Blue has a rocket, but I don't think they're going to be able to kill Nickname with it. Wicca leaves the game because of all this pressure from the commandos that Nickname is putting on, and then this push. And a rocket to destroy the Navy from Demos, that buys them a little bit of time, but these 3 shipyards are still going. And now Nickname has the whole north of the map. And that's going to be a lot of econ. This will be tough to break without a rocket. And Blue's not in a position to build a rocket, but Nickname over time will be. So once Nickname caps all the north and then builds a launch pad, I think that's the beginning of the end. There's a lot of units for Blue on the right-hand side, but unfortunately they don't have a way to get across and start destroying some of Nickname's base. Good garrison of commandos in the top right. So it's not like a drop from Blue would be all that successful either. And now 3 aircraft carriers for Nickname posting up as close as they can to all the action. And it is close enough. I mean, these strikers are going to be able to reach Teal's defensive lines. And now we wait for this fight to take off. And we can go to the tactical view. Okay, so this is total naval supremacy now for Nickname. Soon, Nickname might push the boats through here to try to destroy the submarine pen in the dock. I mean, that's really the only place that Blue could be building these boats from, and Nickname knows it. But eco-wise, Pink will start taking all of these farms and this town and the port, and it'll just be too much. Blue's gonna try to break out of this. I think really the only thing that could happen in this game to stop Nickname from winning is if Xeno also pushed with Blue here and just both had an implied agreement that they would both fight Nickname. Because Blue's in trouble. This many bombers against this many SAMs, the bombers are going to be able to take out the SAMs. Probably not on this run, but certainly the next one. And it's so much Air Force from Pink. Alright, here comes the counter push from Teal. This is a great play. For Teal, we got some economy back. And this indirectly helps the Nickname, who puts down 2 towns. In fact, 3 towns with this one in the top left. And very slowly, Nickname's going to control the far right. And this is a lot of units for Blue, so Nickname will have to... It'll take a while for Pink to clear that island. But it won't really matter. I think if Xeno pushes all the way over here, Blue may just leave the game. Because then they'll be totally isolated on this one island. Nickname's going to start sending the boats around. This is an enormous blob. There's no way that 3 factories are going to be able to handle this entire army for Teal. Nickname's got this 3rd city on the way in the top left. And here comes the rocket for Pink with more industry. Nickname probably has almost like 3,000 economy a minute right now. Or 3,000 total economy or whatever. Daimo's at 843. But this tells the story. An hour and 20 minutes into the game. Good army from Nickname. It's going to find this depot and the power plant. The sub pen as well anytime now. And Nickname might start just pushing through this little gap. Here come all the bombers. There's not a ton of SAMs for Blue. And if the bombers were to focus on the buildings, I think all these Blue buildings would just be destroyed. But there's so many infantry and artillery here that the bombers are going to spread all their damage amongst all the units. Xeno's got a good push here that's going to clear out Blue. But this is going to be an enormous rocket from Nickname. So the landing's going to get stuffed because of the amount of units that Blue has. Nickname's going to use the boats to try to find a good spot to land these units. And slowly push on Blue from both sides. Rocket is 2/3 of the way done for Pink. And now Nickname has Xeno entirely surrounded. Landing gets stuffed. Nickname's gonna build a launch pad, pardon me. This one clearly intended for this bottom right island-ish thing. is the geographic term. And blue has no more factories on this left-hand side. Here comes the rocket. I need to make sure we're looking at this so I don't miss it. I don't think I can actually see rockets on the tactical view. Let's see if we can. Yeah, actually we can. Would you look at that? So the rocket gets a few SAMs. Second rocket is going to show up quicker than the first. There's actually another launch pad as well for nickname. And the rocket now on the far right for nickname is on the stand. And this is a fourth city for a nickname going up in the middle of the map. Another potential landing is ready for Pink to go across. Now that this blue army is entirely on the far side. Holy cow, that freaked me out. On the far side of the map, blue is out of the game at this point. Which makes sense. I mean, that was an impossible situation with all the pressure from nickname. Who's now going to destroy a bunch of the buildings on the right-hand side and focus entirely on teal. And I think what we're about to see is, okay, this isn't really the view. Let's try it. But we're just going to see a rocket. This is all we're going to look at the rest of the game. Because this is where all the action is. Nickname's going to totally cap the right-hand side of the map. There's actually a fourth launch pad just in view here. And safe to say, Xeno is contained to the bottom left side of the map. Nickname is not going to push into the defensive line, although they probably could. If Nickname destroyed all their buildings and then started putting factories up by where the launch pads were, just the sheer economy of Pink could probably generate enough. Okay, here comes the first rocket. As that third launch pad finishes, left side of the defensive line is destroyed. And more factories from Nickname. I mean, we could look off. Yeah, so Nickname's capping everything. And we can see the explosions in the distance, and that is the buildings that Nickname is getting rid of to make, like, to save the upkeep on them so that they can build more buildings over here. Four rockets on the way. And a ton of artillery. We'll see if these four commandos on the left-hand side for Xeno can get out of this contain. They certainly won't be able to. And another rocket is ready for Nickname. And now the real question is whether Nickname's going to wait for all four rockets to be done, or just launch them one at a time. And I'm starting to feel like it's going to be four rockets. In case it wasn't already clear that Nickname was going to be fine, Pink is going to dig in. Three of the rockets are done, and here they come. So that kills a bunch of the SAMs. What really is happening is that the rockets are going to destroy all the SAMs, and then Nickname's just going to send in these 8 bombers that we see in the top right of the screen. And that's the rocket that does it. And here comes another one. And there go the bombers. Good game. Well played all. That was a free-for-all. Of course, there's team games in Lime War as well. This is the econ that we see from Nickname. Enormous. GG. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you have a wonderful night, day, evening, whatever it is. We'll see you around. Peace.